YTPC, board smoking pipes here. Well, it's Wednesday. Got the Amigo 51, got a little Pegasus. Well, let's go back to 89. Seems we left off at the barrel ride up there on the hill. So we're gonna come on back down the hill, back down to the fort, go across the bridge. Now, every time you cross the body of water at this part, you had those trout feeders on the bridges, on the little rest areas, because this creek was what it was. It was a watershed that had been dammed up in stages, so that it created little pools and then a big pond and so forth, and it all had trout in it. And everything that wasn't sold there at DogPatch was gathered up and sold on the national market. So these old boys had this farm thing going on. They had people paying to feed their fish. They were selling their fish there. And not only after that, they were selling the fish out on the market. Oh boy. Like to have been the fella that figured that out. Although it was a lot of work for them. I knew one of the Rainy boys, and yeah, they were working all the time. Farming is farming. Fish, cattle, corn, it's all hard business. Takes a lot to get it out, a lot of endless hours. You know, if you've never been out on a farm, it truly is a sun up to sundown event. But, oh boy, we got some traffic stuff going on here. Power companies killing trees. Well, trimming them from the power lines anyway. Common fact down here. They trim them down so they don't break the power lines, and they got some type of weed killer that they use, and I mean every bit of vegetation drops dead when that comes along. Anyway, I digress. You cross this bridge, and if you look off to the big pond, you see the docks out on it for the paddle boats. This was always a big draw. Oh, when I was a little feller, I loved being out on those paddle boats. And basically, it was two good pontoons, a bench-type chair, pedals, and a long chain that went back to your transit to go down to turn a prop. And when I say transit, that's a loose term for you mariners out there. This was basically a chain that turned a shaft, and on the other end of that shaft was that prop. It was quite a sight. It had a rudder on it that was also chain driven from a Studebaker steering wheel at first, and then it got smaller and smaller. Anyway, it was quite an ordeal, and I liked them. A lot of kids did. A lot of retirees did too. It was a great family thing to cruise around on that water. You know, try not to run into anybody. It was a big pond though. Anyway, that was when you cross that bridge, you can see that off on your left. And on your right, there was I believe that's where the our shooting gallery was. It was a electronic shooting gallery. It responded from pulses of light. I think originally it might have, I don't know. I don't ever remember it being BB type ammo, so maybe it was always, if you could get the light to shine on the right spot from the end of the gun. But it made a sound every time you hit one of the sensors. It would ding a bell like you took a pellet and hit a tin can, because that was what the targets were. They were still the original tin can things, the arms that activated that, but you had a mechanism that would pull it now instead of knocking it over. Anyway, and then the piano player would play, or the mouse would run up the wall, or the clock would spin all out of control, or for me, that was the ultimate. I really liked that growing up. And even as a teenager, I'd still slide by and put a few quarters in. Target practice without ammo. That was alright. And that would lead you to the square. I mean, that was the first stop right there, getting into the downtown area of DogPatch. So you get up in there, and there was the hat shop, which it had everything in there. Ball caps, cowboy hats, sombreros, straw hats, you name it, all sorts of colors. You know, they had bandanas, and it was always a neat place. I don't really think I ever bought anything from there, but I liked going through it. And also downtown, you had a outdoor theater type thing where they had shows. Sometimes a magic show, music shows, that kind of varied back and forth. You had the ice cream shop. You gotta remind me to get back to the ice cream shop. There's a special story working inside of there. And the train station. You also had, on the square, you also had I forget what the actual name was, but it was a mining company where you could go in and buy stones, or you could pay them to sift through the mess and see if you could find a diamond chip. They bought diamond chips and put in there. Mainly it was all quartz, but there was one, I don't know if they done one a year or two a year. I don't know how they did that. I never really got into the details on it, but so they weren't false advertising. There was a couple of chips in there of diamond, and there was other different pretty rocks and things you get. I don't know if you got so many scoops or what to see what you found, or. But anyway, that was the mining company, or the mine, or I forget what they named that actual part. I'm sure you could look it up somewhere. And I want to say there was a couple more shops down there, but I can't remember what they were. I know there's always a restaurant in every section, other than the ice cream area, but your train station was there where you could get on your train. Now, a lot of people really liked that train ride because that went around the park and up into some of the woods behind it. When you rode the train now, they had actors out there that would stage a robbery, like an old-time train robbery. And you never knew if they was going to be there or not, which made it kind of fun because you might ride it this week and just get to see a scenic view, and next week you might ride it and all of a sudden you were getting stopped at cap gun point. Originally they were cap guns and they made popping sounds in the air, and eventually as time went on they just quit with the cap part and shook around toy guns. And I mean they were obviously pearl pistol, shiny little toy guns from the dollar store. And you knew that there wasn't any real threat with it. They went to great extents to make them exaggerated, unreal. At least in my opinion. Because I knew what a real pistol looked like, sounded like, and that wasn't it. Anyway, that train ride would take you by the Skunk Works, and Skunk Works was the perfume company. You could buy expensive perfumes at the Skunk Works, supposedly. But you went out back of it on the train, and you seen how they were making the expensive perfumes. They were milking a skunk. Like they were going to get the odor out of it and turn it into something nice. Anyway, that was hilarious. It'd take you past other ponds and over the big bridges and stuff so you could see the waterfall. They called it Marble Falls down there. And Marble Falls actually was a pretty nice little place. I went around later that year. I went around the back side of the park on the dirt road that come up by Marble Falls, and I'd go down there and sit and fish. And I guess a few train riders got to see old Ford down there waving back at them. I'm surprised they didn't come down and run us off, but you know, the conductor would wave at us because he knew us. Anyway, well, that gets you downtown YTPC. Maybe tomorrow we'll pick up with more of your tour, because there's plenty more to see, at least from the road side of it. And there's a whole lot more of 1989. YTPC, be safe. Old Ford signing out.